I hope y'all well. Welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna unhaul loads of books. So I had my son last year, and that's why I'm getting rid of books. I would keep every single book that I've ever read if I could, but I just don't have the space for it. And I want to say thank you so much for all the nice comments on my last unhaul video that I was like, I don't really want to get rid of this, but I'm not going to reread it. I didn't love it, so I'm going to get rid of it. And your like positive comments really helped me, and I gave them to my local charity shop. They're now out of my life, and I have a load more books to unhaul. I used to, here's my bookcase, kind of got it back together a bit more. It got like very messy, and now that was just like new mum life. I was just like putting stuff on it, and I've sorted it out more so I can see what books I got. I used to do book heaven, book hell, so the top shelf was books that I loved, and then here in this like cubby hole underneath here was book hell, so books that I had read and I didn't really feel anything for, or I hated, I would keep here because I wanted to keep all the books that I've read. But I literally don't have the space, otherwise I would keep all the books. So I'm working through my book hell, but I do have some books here that I did like that I don't want to keep hold of. I'm going to get straight into it and stop waffling. I have Ali Smith, The Accidental. I'm not an Ali Smith fan. I feel like people absolutely adore Ali Smith, or there's other people which I'm in that camp of like, I don't really connect to her writing. It's not really for me. This is about a family, they're on holiday and then a stranger turns up, and it's about that a stranger's effect on everyone in the family, and it affects them all differently. Just wasn't for me. I just don't think Ali Smith's writing is for me, to be honest with you. Do you remember when that book that she wrote, Autumn, was everywhere? Because it had that gorgeous autumn cover, and I know that all of them, the different seasons, had beautiful covers, but I just love autumn, and I always wanted to buy it, and I read this first, and it's just, I'm not going to buy the autumn one. I didn't like it. I didn't connect to it, so I'm not going to read probably anything else from Ali Smith. Tell me your opinions on it, because I feel like she has such a strong fan base on BookTube, but I just don't get her books. Next up, I have The Feed. This is by Nick Clark Window. I haven't read this. This is a post-apocalyptic thriller, and it's about when you go to sleep you have to have someone watching you, otherwise you're going to be taken. So the parents of this 6-year-old girl are telling her all about this, and then she goes to sleep and she's taken, and the parents kind of turn on each other and have to work out how she's been taken. Was someone not watching her when she was sleeping? And then it goes into like who takes you when you fall asleep. I'm just never going to read this. I've had this on my to be read shelf for a million years and I've never read it, so I just feel get rid of it. If you've had it for years and you haven't picked it up, then you're probably not going to pick it up, and all the new books that I buy I read before I've read that, so it just seems ridiculous to keep hold of it, but it does sound like a good book. We then have Boys with Plants. This is a great gift book. I got sent this by the publishers, and it's different men who on social media, they talk about house plants, and they give you kind of like tips of how to look after house plants, and here's the kind of pictures. So you have a man like that posing, and it's kind of like pin-ups for men who write about house plants is kind of the idea of the book. And then it has the profile and how you can find that man on social media. I just think it's a fun book. Not all of them are like shirtless like that, but I just thought it was a fun book, fun gift book, but I'm not going to be rereading it. It's not that kind of book. I'm not going to keep that. I then have Ghosting by Kenneth Gray. I did enjoy this. This was a novella, and it was about siblings and they're trying to summon the dead, and it was just a little haunting, and I thought it was a cute little book. I did like it, but I'm not going to reread it. I then have Grayson Perry, The Descent of Man. This is non-fiction. Grayson Perry is an artist, and he is writing about what it means to be masculine and a man in British society, but really I just enjoyed it for, he was talking about his childhood and how it's affected him. So his mother was an alcoholic, and she didn't like him, and she wanted him to be a girl, and when she got this boy she was just like, this isn't what I wanted. His dad left, so she blamed him for his dad's leaving, and he didn't grow up with a dad. So he just talks about how that's like affected him within his life. I thought it was an interesting book about his life, but again, I'm not going to be rereading it or like going into it or anything. You know, if you're interested in that topic, then you might really love it and want to go into that more, but I just was very interested more about his life. We then have Anne Fine Goggle Eyes. Anne Fine does this, she's a children's laureate. It says she does a lot of kind of YA books, and this is about a girl who she's had a lot of stepdads, and her mum's had boyfriends, they've turned into stepfathers, it's just broken down, it's not worked. Her mum gets a new boyfriend and she just thinks, here we go again, here's another one that's not going to work out, and then my mum's going to be upset again. I found it very sad, to be honest with you, but I thought it was this sad book. I don't know if it was trying to make you feel kind of good if you've got your mum's dating someone, that she might meet someone great or whatever, but I thought it was an interesting book. I did enjoy it, but it had a kind of sadness to it as well. Maybe that's just realistic of that situation, but I thought it was a good book. But again, I'm not going to reread it. I then have a play, The Village That Drowned. This is by Phyllis Flowerdew, and it's about these children leave their village because their village floods, and then when they come back, they're just going through the devastation, and I feel like it's a good book for like kids, but the animals are dead. This bit is kind of haunting for children. Oh, the animals, wailed David. The puzzled little creatures were washed from their holes. They're all being drowned. And then he tries to get this rabbit, is struggling with a rabbit and a floating shrew. And then Linda, her sister, goes, David, don't try and save them. You'll only get drowned yourself. And he used to like abandon saving these animals, which I thought, oh my God, as a child, I was a very sensitive child. I would have probably had a panic attack or something when that happened within the book. I was like, oh my God. We then have It's Your Year, Charlie Brown. I thought this was good. This takes you through a year. It's not every single day, but a lot of days. So I'm not explaining this well. Here, I'll show you. So it has June, and then it goes into Charlie Brown's diary entries from June. So it starts June 5th, and then he'll just have like funny little anecdotes of what he's done and all the other characters from Charlie Brown, all that they've done, and you know, it's just like a fun little kids book. I thought was good. I enjoyed it, but again, I'm not gonna, like, I didn't love it. I'm not gonna keep it and probably read it to like my son. And also, it's not like a baby book. Maybe it's primary school age, that kind of thing. But I remember enjoying it and thinking it was good. We then have this, which I never opened, but it's so nice. This is Time's Delight, Poems for All Seasons, chosen by Raymond Wilson. And it takes you through all the different poems of the season. I think I've shown you this before recently. Have I shown you this? Sorry if I have. Is this in my last Unhaul video? But I feel like I've spoken about it recently. But it's just loads of different poems, and it has like Halloween and different things. But I never, I don't know, should I keep it? But I never pick it up, so I don't know whether to keep it. Oh my God, I don't know. I'm gonna keep it, but but if I don't pick it up within this month, then I'm gonna have to just get rid of it. I'm sure I've spoken about this recently. Maybe I was gonna put it in my last Unhaul video or something, but it's just loads of different poems, and I just like the autumn bit, to be honest with you. It's all about the different changing seasons. I like that element within it. There's a Halloween one. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna keep it. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna keep it. I then have a few Jacqueline Wilsons that I'm not going to reread. I have Candy Floss, which I really liked. It was about this girl, and her dad has like a chip van, and she works in there with him, and then he's really struggling to make ends meet, and it's obviously really affecting her, but she's always really nice to her dad throughout it, and I really felt sorry for her, because she's like, oh no, it's okay, Dad, don't worry about it, but it's obviously not okay, the way that they're living and the way that his like place where he lives is, and so she has to work in his chip van with him to try and make money, and then there's a fire in the chip van and it's unsafe for her to be there and everything, and I just felt so sorry for her throughout the whole thing. I just felt like, why can't he kind of like get it together a little bit more than what he was? And since becoming a parent as well, I'm kind of like, oh, like there are situations where he does put her in danger, and she could have like died in the chip van and everything. I have such a bone to pick with like him in it with her dad, but I thought it was a really good book. I did enjoy that. But again, I'm not going to reread that one. We then had Jacqueline Wilson, Opal Plumstead, and it talks about the suffragettes, and I thought this was a really great book, but I'm not going to reread it. We then have an old book that is damaged, and I don't want to damage it anymore because I don't really have place to store. Oh, sorry, the light's gone. I don't really have place to like store things really nicely here. So this gorgeous old book, and it's just poems by R. Browning, but the whole entire front cover has come off and it just needs to be stored like in a glass cabinet or something, and I don't have that, and it's so old that they stuffed the book. I don't know if you can even see, but it's stuffed with cotton wool. It's so weird. I've never seen a book like that stuffed with cotton wool. That's how it was published, was like that. Someone hasn't done that recently, but I just don't want it to get any more damage. It's got this really nice, oh, why aren't all books like that gold foil on the sides? I feel like everyone would love it. You know, like a Bible has that gold foil. Who wouldn't like that? Gorgeous. Like, books are so plain. Look at them now, just white. And then you might have to pay like a little bit extra money if you want colour on the edge of the pages. I just think it's so nice with the gold foil. It's gorgeous, but it's going to get more damaged if it stays in my possession. I just know it will. So I'm going to get rid of that. I read Outline by Rachel Cusk a million years ago. Never connected to it. Never liked it. Again, I know people absolutely adore Rachel Cusk. Her writing just wasn't for me. I remember just a woman sitting on a plane and I was just thinking, what is this about? And there was obviously something that I was missing in it that other people love, but just not a fan of this book. It wasn't for me. I've done a whole video review on that book on the channel if you want to see why, like all the reasons that I didn't like it. But I remember I just didn't like any of it at all. It just felt like such a struggle to get through. But I know, like Ali Smith, people adore her. Like Jeanette Winterson, some people just absolutely adore her work. And again, I just can't get into it. I know it's supposed to be like they're literary and they've won all these literary awards and they're fabulous, but I just couldn't connect with them. Okay, I couldn't. I'd rather read Mary Higgins Clark and Jacqueline Wilson than them. Those books just connect to me more. I'm sorry. I know we're supposed to think they're great, but they're not for me. We then have an absolute treasure of the channel, the Duff. This is about a girl. Can you see all the tabs? I'm gonna have to take all these tabs out. Hopefully I haven't underlined anything. Oh no, I haven't. So I'm going to take the tabs out as I tell you about the Duff. It's about a girl who she gets told by a boy at school, it's set at high school, that you are the Duff. You are the designated ugly fat friend and everyone thinks you're dreadful. And I just thought it had a lot of double standards within it. So there's stuff where it's kind of like, oh, this boy is dreadful for pressuring this girl to be sexual with him. And then a girl does the exact same thing with a boy and it's absolutely fine. And I just thought that was really, really gross. And there's this boy who really likes this girl in it, and that's what really like got me about it. And they sleep together and he's all like, wow, this means something to me, but it doesn't mean anything to her. She's just using him and she's just like, oh, whatever, like cool as a cucumber. And I just thought that was horrible, because if it was the other way around, the book wouldn't have put it in there, because I would have thought, oh no, people will hate that element within it and hate that character. So I just didn't like the whole thing. I just had so many problems with the Duff. It wasn't for me. People say the film is much better than the book to do with the Duff. I've never seen the film. It's not for me. I'm gonna finally get rid of this, but I've kept this in my possession even though I haven't liked it. I still got slammed by Colleen Hoover somewhere and I absolutely hated that book, but I've kept it in my possession. I just didn't like it. Wasn't for me at all. Didn't like the kind of double standards within it either. Goodbye, the Duff. I feel like this is such a moment because I spoke about it so much on the channel in so many videos. When I was talking about like I don't like these booktube faves, it was always the Duff. I did a whole video on the Duff. The tabs that you saw in the book were all the elements of the books that I didn't like. I really went into this book because I didn't want to just say, oh, I don't like the book. I wanted to like say why I didn't like it. But goodbye, the Duff. Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me. We then have Miss Marvel, the graphic novel. I really enjoyed this. This is volume 1. I really thought it was great. I didn't reread it like on in the series because I didn't really read graphic novels much after this, or comics. This was a comic and then it's been put into different volumes, but you can buy the individual comics as well. This is going to be a hugely successful franchise. I don't think it's got a film. I don't know why it hasn't got a film, because it is very successful. And I feel like they make the same films over and over again. So it was exciting to have a new superhero, but as I said, like I didn't really read after this. I didn't go on to read other comic series or other graphic novel kind of stuff, but I feel like, why wouldn't you make a series of that or a film? Let me know if there has been, because I'm pretty sure there hasn't been. There's been 50 million Spider-Mans, but there hasn't been any of that. But that is a great one. So I'm gonna end it here. I hope you enjoyed this unhaul shoutiness. I don't know what it was, 50 million books are now gone. I'm going to take them to the charity shop tomorrow, so they are out of my life. I am doing vlogs on the channel, book reviews on the channel. I did a whole like Eurovision how many Eurovision videos did I make? I think I made 4 Eurovision videos. I got so into the Eurovision season. I don't know what's wrong with me. Every year I love Eurovision, but this year I took it like seriously, as if I was a judge and it was going to be down to my final verdict on it. It was very bizarre. Anyway, I've got over Eurovision now, so I'm just going to be doing kind of vlogs of my life as a mum and just random chats in that, and then any kind of book reviews and book related videos, I'll still be doing them as well. And now that I feel like I've got my shelf back together, I feel I just want to make more book videos, and I feel more kind of inspired to read because I've got my own little space back. So anyway, I'm going to end this here. Tell me what videos you want to see from me, and I will see you again soon for another video.